This is something that is available in so many other states, and I've never understood why it's not here in West Virginia. So I'm so excited you're bringing this to West Virginia, Rachel.
I can't believe it hasn't been here yet, but it's here now, and I'm very excited about it too. It's been a very, very popular service that my firm has been offering.
Well, tell us a little bit because I think a lot of people don't really know what a care coordinator is. So let's start walking through this process and explain to me what exactly it is.
Okay, so a care coordinator is they're also known as geriatric care managers,
Mm-hmm.
care managers. They have different names that they go by. At my firm, we call them elder care coordinators. They are social workers. They can also be nurses that work to service older adults, mostly who are trying to age at home for as long as possible. But they also service older adults who are in assisted living and even skilled nursing facilities. So they are, imagine a foreman on a job. You know, the job of getting older is pretty intense. That there's a lot involved. It's very complex, can be very overwhelming. So the care coordinator will make sure everybody is doing what they should be doing, that the services are put into place that the older person needs.
It's almost like having your own little kind of executive assistant to help coordinate things because I know from my end, so many people when it comes to retirement, like they are thinking about, I need my health insurance and I need to make sure I have money. And that's the only thing that they think about. And then as soon as things start going wrong, it's like complete panic. What do I do? What do I do with my mom? And most people aren't prepared for navigating this whole area.
That's exactly right. It's tough. It's tough, and you don't know too much about it until you get there, and then you're trying to learn as you go. So, according to this first slide, I have the goal of an elder care coordinator is to assist the older adult to age safely at home, and also to keep you out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
For frequent admissions that you don't really need. But sometimes you go there because you're looking for answers, you're looking for help. It may not necessarily be medical answers or medical help, but it's something involving a social service that you might need. And she can step up to the plate. The elder care coordinator that I have can step up to the plate and help with that. So you don't have to go to the hospital and look for that.
Yeah, because I think like one of the biggest things too is like people have this concept that when their loved one goes into the hospital, that there's all these social workers and everything there that's going to make sure they go home with everything in a pretty little package, specifically laid out how to take care of them. And reality is the discharge starts immediately, like as soon as you sign the paperwork, and it's a lot of paperwork, new medications, new orders, and people just, it's overwhelming to go through that process.
And the care managers at the hospital, they try very hard
Right.
to have you prepared for when you go home, but they have a huge caseload and they have, demands that the hospital's making. So the hospital is really their client.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to do what they're supposed to do for the hospital, but get you ready as best as possible. The way I see the care coordinators in that scenario, it's the passing of the baton. So they sort of send you out the door to cover the first few days or about a week of things that you might need. But beyond that, it's not their job. That's not what they're there for. So sometimes people need that extra step of a care coordinator to help them working beyond that discharge from the hospital.
Yeah, and just to back that up a little bit too, like when the hospital is sending people home, they don't know what equipment you have at home. They
Mm-mm.
don't know who's available to help you. They don't know what your income is like. That is where the care coordinator comes in to help say, these are resources that we can pull from, but it's impossible for a hospital to be able to do that.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. So, some of the things that a care coordinator does, let's kind of go through those.
Well, they're professionals in assisting older adults. So these are not just any social workers. These are social workers who have been in a hospital setting, who have been in assisted living facilities, who have worked with skilled nursing facilities. So we choose our care coordinators of people who know the system. And I can tell you, the care coordinator right now that we have on staff is an expert. She knows it inside and out. She impresses me every day with her knowledge. They guide you through all these complex matters. Sometimes you need that. You need that guidance because you just don't know what's next. What's the next step?
Mhm.
You know, what benefits do I have under my plan?
Mhm.
She'll find those for you. You know, she will look at those. And if there's any kind of a legal question, she comes to me because she works under me as an attorney, and I can tell her, okay, now we've looked at this contract. These are the benefits. This is who you need to contact to her. And she will contact and advocate, as the next line shows. She is an advocate. So if your benefit plan is saying, no, we don't do that, she's like, oh, yes, you do. And it's right here in your plan is where it's stated. So you tell me why you're not providing that service. And she's a bulldog. She will not stop. The other thing that she can do is serve as a liaison between family members. A lot of times there's a lot of tension among families, particularly siblings, when there's a disagreement about what kind of care mom or dad should get, whether they should be in a facility or not. And then there's also the local caregiver, you know, family member that kind of gets resentful of the other ones who aren't helping. So she can work in those family systems as well. And she is the problem solver. She will find a resource. If there is an unmet need, she is going to find a resource for it.
Yeah, I love that because number one, understanding what's in those benefits is so important because the companies will fight back and try to get out of paying stuff. And knowing the terms that get in there, knowing how it's supposed to work, and the sibling problems, that's a whole other thing.
Exactly. So some of the things that she provides, and I say she because right now she is the lead elder care coordinator. So I'm going to keep referring to her as she, but there are other people on staff that can help as well. She finds government paid and private resources to cover long-term care. An example that I will give is some people don't know that you can convert death benefits of life insurance policies to cover long-term care. The other day, she helped a family work through the elimination period of a long-term care policy. There was a little trick of the trade that I didn't know about, that they thought they had to pay for private care throughout the entire elimination period to use that elimination period up. Turns out they only needed a couple hours each day to use that, that elimination period up. So there things like that she can uncover, which is pretty amazing to me. A lot of family caregivers are exhausted. They're tired. They're trying to work. And she will provide some relief for those family caregivers. So she will find some in-home care services. She will help you even find Family Leave Act, benefits under your employment plan if she needs to find that for you so you can get paid while you're doing it. So she doesn't just help the person that's the older adult. She will also give support to the family members. Big deal, locating rides to appointments. Yes. I have known her to give people rides to appointments if she can't find one. So, that's a big service that she can find those rides for somebody. Meal deliveries. A lot of people want to age at home, but they just don't know how to arrange grocery drop-offs. They don't know how to arrange meal deliveries. Meals on Wheels is great, but there's some talk about that being eliminated too. You hear these kind of things every day. We've got the workaround. So people don't need to panic because of these cuts. Yes, it is a very big deal. It is very serious, but she will definitely try to find a workaround where those cuts are being made. She can assist with technological matters. So setting up telehealth. A lot of people could age at home or could keep from going to doctor's appointments if they could just do better with their telehealth. So if that would help keep you home a little longer, then that's what she can help you do with, on that end. She can find, if you're at a point and you can no longer age at home, we've tried everything and the care is just not meeting your needs, then she will help you find a facility.
Okay. So can we back up just a minute? before we finish going over these, let's distinguish the difference between your law firm and the elder care and how coordination and how that all works together.
Okay, so my elder care coordinators are actually my employees.
Okay.
They work under my supervision and my guidance.
And the name of your firm?
Pardon me?
The name of your firm?
Yeah, so I'm Good Grief Law,
Mm-hmm.
and they are called Golden Guides. They are the Golden Guides of Good Grief Law. And
I love that.
Yeah, so most of the things I don't need to supervise because they are professionals, and they are the benefit finders, and they are the help seekers. You know, they are so good at what they do, but often there is a legal snag. There is some sort of legal documentation that needs an attorney's advice to move forward, or an attorney's advocacy. So that is where I come in.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, I love this because a lot of times people think they only need an attorney or they only need an insurance agent to help them with this, but there's a whole in between that is not our thing. So
I call it the inner workings of a clock. You know, your insurance person, your financial person, your social worker, your attorney. It's just, it all has to coordinate and work together.
And just the world is so complicated today. It's so complicated trying to figure all of this out. It's
so much.
Yeah. Actually, much like this picture here. So.
Well, what happens in my experience is family members really try very hard to help their aging parent or loved one. It's almost like a do-it-yourself project, and they are trying to learn it and then help, and then learn another thing and then help, and then they try to coordinate it all together. And it really, just like that guy in that picture, that's how they feel. And they're trying to manage their own children, their own jobs. Or else the aging adult doesn't want to ask, their kids, because they don't want to be burdens, which is silly, but I understand it. I might feel that way when I get to that point. So what happens is you make a bigger mess, and you end up spending a lot of money that you did not need to spend. So if you can get in with an elder care coordinator right out of the gate, as soon as you feel like a need has presented itself, reach out and get it done right from the start.
Yeah, because so much of that stuff is about rules, like how soon you go from the hospital into a skilled facility. It matters if you go home first. Like, there's so many rules that can cost tens of thousands of dollars if you don't follow them exactly. It's just ridiculous how complicated it is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is how it works. So the elder care coordinator will go to the home or the facility where the client is located.
Okay.
And they will do a very comprehensive in-person assessment. So if they're at home, they're going to want to meet with family members. They're going to want to meet with caregivers if there are any. They're going to want to look at the house. Do you have grab bars? Do you have a lot of carpets you could trip on? Do you have ramps? Do you have stairs? Do you have pets? Or if someone has, the beginnings of dementia, are there going to be appropriate locks and safety measures on the appliances? That, not only that, but then they'll look at your resources. What do you have? What are your policies? Who in the family lives nearby? Who lives far away? So that first assessment is a very big deal, and it can be up to 2 hours that she's going to be spending with that client.
Okay. And I'm sure it takes the entire time to go through because it is so customized.
Correct. After that initial assessment, we will develop a care plan. And I say we because obviously there are maybe some things that an attorney needs to be a part of. So we will customize a care plan for that individual based on exactly what they want and what they need. So we might see that you have a lot of needs, but you just don't want the help, and that's okay. You don't have to sign on for everything that we recommend, and we will hone that care plan down so that everybody's happy with it. So, you're not locked into anything. Some people just need the care plan because some people will have enough family members in place, enough caregivers in place that they no longer that they will not need an elder care coordinator moving forward. So for some people, it will stop with the development of that care plan. We will pass the care plan on to the family and the caregiver and the client and let them take it from there.
I think that's so important because it helps people understand you're not getting locked into something.
Oh,
You're
absolutely not.
Yeah, you're available for as much help as someone needs. And some people are going to need everything. And some people just need the big picture. Help me develop out the big picture.
Right.
Love that.
Well, then once that care plan is implemented and everybody is in agreement on the care plan, then if the services of an elder care coordinator are needed or desired, then that's when she starts kicking it in. She'll kick it in right away. I mean, I've seen her get things in place within 24 hours of signing of that care plan. So, and she'll hit the ground running. And once that assistance begins, if there is a need that develops later, there are reassessments along the way.
Okay. Yeah, because it's not a static thing. It's an ever evolving. You're going to need different needs in different ways. Because
Absolutely.
aging is not fun.
No.
In a lot of ways. Lots of puzzle pieces to figure out. So why, in your opinion, like what's the biggest thing that makes a care coordinator invaluable?
Okay. Well, if you flip to the next screen there.
Okay.
So these to me are the highlights. Missing work is a very big stressor on family members. And if you're having to take, mom or dad or your loved one, and you're still working, to appointments, some of those appointments can get very frequent. And then your boss may get upset with you. You're not getting your work done. Your coworkers get a little bit resentful because they're trying to pick up the load for you. So missing work is a big deal if your family member is trying to help you. Trying to figure out complex matters. I mean, this whole stuff, the whole difference, Medicare, Medicaid, assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, long-term care insurance, all of that can be quite overwhelming. And if you are not an elder care professional of some sort, I don't know how anybody can figure that stuff out. And it's usually through trial and error and a lot of lost dollars later. So that's a big
for us. It's complex for us, and we do this every day.
Yeah, I study constantly. Yeah. And so that frustration can end up having a very negative effect on the parent-child relationship if you're trying to take care of your parent and your parent's feeling bad about how much they're putting on you. You're resentful because you're, having to miss work or your kids' games, or you're resentful at your other siblings, just like the other one. A lot of times we'll have one sibling here doing all the work gratuitously, and for not getting paid. And then they've got other siblings out of state who won't contribute either time or money. So using the resources of the older adult, that's what they've saved for all these years, is, to help them age safely and have, a really great quality of life. That's what the money's there for. So spend it, spend it for that purpose. And that work as a liaison between family members is really a big benefit.
Yeah, I don't think most people realize how big of an issue this is until they get into it. But it is like when the families start, because families often have very different ideas about how loved ones should be cared for.
So the other thing is it reduces fear in the older adult. So there's a lot of fear about living alone or about what's next. I don't know what's going to happen to me next. What happens if I fall? What's next? Sitting down and making a plan for future contingencies as you get older gives you such a humongous peace of mind. So one of the things too, when an older adult is still living independently, hearing becomes an issue. Sometimes they can't hear as well, or they have a doctor who might have an accent that they can't really understand. So not being able to hear or understand doctors when you go to these appointments for getting instructions, there's no coordination between your providers. Yeah. An elder care coordinator will go with you to your doctor's appointments. We'll take notes. We'll ask questions. We'll advocate. We'll push that doctor. Why aren't you making this referral? And then they can take those notes and spread them out through the other physicians as needed, or to family members and say, hey, I went with your mom to this doctor's appointment. This is not being provided. Do you want me to take care of this? Would you like to take care of this? Or are you fine with what this doctor's saying? It's more of an advocacy, not you don't have to do what the elder care coordinator says, but she at least keeps everybody informed. Elder care coordinators can physically check in, either by going to the facility or home in person or making phone calls on a weekly basis. Some people don't want it on a weekly basis. Some people would rather it once a month, but whatever that older adult wants, that's what she's going to do. And they feel safer knowing that there's somebody checking in on them and giving that support. And then the care coordinator may go into the home and find out, hey, your water's turned off. What's going on here? Do I need to contact the water company to get this bill paid? So let me help you.
Rachel, when you were talking about setting in on doctor's appointments and taking notes, that gave me chills, because I think about, even when you're healthy and you can think clearly and you can hear great, every single time I go to the doctor, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about these 10 things. And then I forget all of them when I walk.
Right. Yes.
And I go home and I was like, the whole reason I made the appointment, I forgot to talk about. So I think having that extra person in there, making sure the concerns are addressed, making sure the concerns are followed up on, is just so big, so big.
And that can keep you out of the hospital longer.
Yeah.
And you can, the care coordinator I know has found in-home services. They will actually come to your home and take your blood pressure, and and that's included in some insurance policies. So you may not even know you have that.
Yep, 100%. So the cost, we know this is something people are always going to ask. So let's talk about this.
Okay. Well, the first thing I will say is, even the most comprehensive plan that we have, which basically it's everything. The cost of that per year is less than 1 month in a skilled nursing facility. So if a care coordinator can keep you out of a skilled nursing facility or an assisted living facility for 3, 6, 9 months, imagine the money that you will save by using a care coordinator. The biggest issue I have with this service, it is such a great service. It would save costs for the system tremendously if insurance would cover it. Insurance does not cover the services of a care coordinator, so it has to be paid out of private funds. Most people do have that I've dealt with, and now there's going to be, obviously, there's a big spectrum there, but some people have a little nest egg saved up. And this would be a perfect way to spend it, because you can have a better quality of life and a more enriched life by living at home among your things and where you're comfortable. So it isn't by a private fund, but it is money well spent. And if you don't have enough to pay, for the comprehensive monthly service, but there is a great need for just one of the services, like, for instance, budgeting or balancing your checkbook, writing checks, making sure you're not getting exploited. She can serve in that role. So you can do a concierge where you have little individual services that she serves, or you can do the comprehensive, and that's on a monthly payment. But really, the services are determined after that first assessment.
Okay.
So that's because it can be very different.
Let's take 1 second here for anyone who's watching this, and let's be very clear about this. So many people watching this are thinking Medicare is going to cover these costs, and they don't understand the point of trying to stay out of skilled nursing or stay out of a nursing home. Let's be very clear. Medicare does not cover any of these costs. And if they go into a facility, it is going to cost them somewhere between $6,000 and $15,000. It's a lot of money. And so when we're talking about the cost of keeping someone home and safe, it's not like you're just charging these massive amounts. These are amounts that Medicare is not going to cover regardless. You're just helping to coordinate it. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is people don't plan for this because they say that's what Medicare is for. And Medicare does not cover this in any way whatsoever. Just want to throw that out there.
And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. They're shocked when they hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this slide, I'm talking about the benefits of going through a life care planning law firm. So I consider myself a life care planning holistic elder law firm. So
Okay.
I don't just type up your legal documents, your wills, your powers of attorney, your trust, and send you out the door.
Mhm.
If I meet with a client, and I don't know that I've ever met with a client that someone hasn't not had a question about something that reaches beyond the legal
Mhm.
documentation, I will find an answer. I will not just tell you that's not what I do. That's never an answer that I give somebody, unless it's something with taxation. Then I will say that because I don't do that. Or Medicare policies. That's when I send them to Tabitha. But when it comes to social services or just in-home care services,
Mhm.
aging at home, those kind of things, I will find you an answer. And if you have a question about Medicare, I will send you to a person who has the answer. That's what I do as a holistic law firm. But I do the legal documents and services, contracts, reviews. If you're going into a skilled nursing facility or assisted living facility, I will review those contracts to make sure you're not signing up for something that you really don't want to be signing up for. Medicaid eligibility and asset protection, that's a big deal. So when Lisa goes in, or one of my elder care coordinators goes in and comes up with this care plan, she might come back to me and say, they don't have durable powers of attorney. That is included in her service.
Okay.
So that is, and so your wills and your powers of attorney, your basic legal documents, we'll just get those in place for you as part of your care plan.
That's
Now, any
amazing.
services beyond that, beyond what Lisa or our care coordinators are giving you, let's just say you reach a point or she's serving someone who does not have capacity and they don't have powers of attorney. All that information is already in our system. We very seamlessly move into the next step
Mhm.
that will give you the legal protection that you need. So that, we are working together the whole time. I don't charge for my services unless they're coming and you've agreed to that service. Every single thing in that care plan is put in front of you and you pay it. And there is not another charge that comes to you until that is addressed with you again. You're not going to get nickel and dimed, and there
Mhm.
will be no surprises. That's very important to me when dealing with older adults and with these issues. I do not like to spring a bill onto people that they did not see coming.
Yeah. I love this so much. I'm so excited that this is coming.
So, Golden Guides, those are the elder care coordinators. Again, you reach them through our firm. You start with them, and if upon that assessment they feel like there is some legal needs, then that's when I
Mhm.
just come and meet you as well. But when you call in and you need an elder care coordinator, you will ask for the Golden Guides.
Rachel, thank you so much for bringing this to West Virginia. I know this is a huge passion of yours, and you've just been devastated over the past, decade that you've been doing this to where there's just not the help that's needed. And I see it on my end all the time with clients, and I just couldn't be more thrilled that you're doing this. So thank you.
Well, thank you for hosting me today.
Anything you want to follow up with anyone?
No, everything's pretty clear. If you just want to call and get some information
Mhm.
about more information about elder care coordinators and what they do, I'm happy to mail you out a brochure. I just presented a talk this week to the Parkinson support group, and that information was shared with them, and everybody seemed very excited about that. I think there's just a lot of different needs that can be met with these services.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, I'm looking forward so much to working with you more in the future. And thanks for stopping by. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay, you
All
too.
right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.